person, which I told him not to touch it.
Y'all step back from the car, guys, please.
I won't touch it.
Yeah, just step back.
The guy in the hoodie, he popped the trunk just because he seen all the blood here.
The call sounded normal at first. A mother dropping her kids off, a quick errand, a promise to come back later. But she never did. And by nightfall, her family already knew something was terribly wrong. This is Chilling True Crime, where real cases are broken down piece by piece, no fluff, just truth. And today, we're stepping into the case of Danielle Pruett, a single mother who vanished in broad daylight, leaving behind 3 confused children and a mystery that would take investigators down a dark path filled with lies, suspicious behavior, and the killer who thought he'd gotten away with it. Because what started as a simple missing person case would end with GPS data, bloody clothes, and a confession that came too late. March 17, 2016. Danielle Pruett dropped her 3 children at her mother Charlene's house in Virginia. It was a normal Thursday, nothing unusual. Nothing that should have raised any red flags. She had one errand to run. Then she'd be back to pick the kids up for baseball practice. That was the plan. Except she never showed up. At first, the family tried to stay calm. Maybe traffic, maybe her phone died, maybe something came up. But hours passed. No calls, no text, no Danielle. And for a woman who never, and I mean never, ignored her kids, that silence didn't feel normal. Danielle's twin sister Nikki started calling again and again and again, straight to voicemail. That's when the fear started turning into something heavier, something darker. Because Danielle wasn't the type to just disappear, not from her kids, not from her family, not without a word. Charlene, Danielle's mother, finally did what no parent ever wants to do. She picked up the phone and called 911. Her voice shook as she tried to explain. Her daughter was missing. She didn't know what she was wearing. She didn't know where she went. All she knew was that this wasn't like her daughter, not even close.
I could give 2 if she's sitting on 5 pounds of heroin right now. We need to make sure she's okay.
She's not a bad person. She don't go to no clubs. She don't argue with nobody.
All I'm interested in right now is finding her.
But it's so crazy because from that street to here, like, what happened? I heard about the back.
When police arrived, both Charlene and Nikki made it clear. Danielle was responsible, careful, a devoted mom. If she was gone, something had gone very wrong. And then investigators learned something chilling. Right before Danielle left the house that afternoon, a young woman named Savannah, who was staying with Danielle, overheard a phone call. Danielle said just a few words. "Meet me on the next street over." Then she walked out the door, alive, for the last time anyone would ever see her. Officers immediately went to Danielle's home to speak with the people who lived there. Chris, Danielle's ex and the father of her children, was still living with her as a roommate. But when the officer knocked on the door, Chris wasn't exactly cooperative. He was angry, defensive, short-tempered. He refused to let the officer inside. And when asked about Danielle, his answers were clipped, cold, almost irritated. "She left at 3. I haven't seen her since." That was it. No concern, no worry, no fear. Just annoyance. The officer ran Chris's name. No warrants. Nothing came back. But his behavior, that stuck with them. The next day, police came back, this time with a search warrant. They went room to room, checked every drawer, every closet, every corner. Nothing.
I came down exit 5 right there at Taz Martel. Came down, came across the phone, was on the bridge. Right there at the storage building.
Blood, no signs of a struggle, no trace of Danielle, just absence. And then another problem appeared. Savannah, the woman who heard Danielle's last phone call, had suddenly vanished too. No one had heard from her since the day Danielle disappeared. Then Chris disappeared. Now detectives had 2 missing people and one mother who still hadn't come home to her kids. The case was starting to stall. Until the phone rang. It was Chris. He told Danielle's family he had found her car. Police rushed to the location, an auto body shop in Grant Park. But when officers arrived, Chris and several family members were already there. And the moment they saw the car, everything changed. Blood was smeared across the back bumper, more blood inside the trunk. Not small stains, not something you could explain away. This was violence. Officers carefully searched the car, hoping, praying Danielle might somehow still be alive inside. She wasn't. Just blood, just silence, just a growing sense of dread. Danielle's car had been turned into a crime scene, and her family, standing nearby, already knew what that meant. The question wasn't, where is Danielle anymore? It was, who did this to her? And the answer was hiding in simple sight. Blood on the car, no body, and a man who found the vehicle acting stranger by the minute. All eyes were on Chris. He was the last known person to see Danielle alive. He lived with her, he was evasive with police, and now he just happened to stumble across her blood-stained car. The coincidences were piling up. But here's the thing about investigations. Coincidences don't mean guilt, and without hard evidence, suspicion alone won't hold up. Still, detectives needed answers. They brought Chris in for questioning. At first, his story sounded simple, too simple. He said Danielle woke up that Thursday afternoon around 3 p.m. after her sister called. He said Danielle made a few phone calls. Then she told him, "I gotta grind out for a minute, I'll be back."
She was right there on the little breeze right there. Just laying right there face down. And I stopped, told my old lady, there's a fire here, so I went back there and picked it up.
He claims he never saw her again. But when detectives pressed them about finding the car, things got tense. Chris said a woman he'd been seeing told him she thought she saw Danielle's car parked near an auto body shop. So he went to check it out. And when he got there, he opened the trunk. Why? To make sure she wasn't in it, he said. He saw the blood, didn't panic, didn't freak out, just called the family. Detectives weren't buying it. His tone wasn't worried. It was defensive, irritated, like he was being accused of something he didn't do. And when they started poking holes in his timeline, Chris got angry. "This has turned from cooperation into interrogation," he snapped. "I'm trying to find her just like you are." But the more he talked, the less it added up. The detective who'd spoken to him at the house the first night had driven past that same auto body shop hours before Chris found the car. The car wasn't there, meaning someone moved it, and Chris was the one who knew exactly where it was. Red flags everywhere. But without proof, no weapon, no witness, no body, they had to let him go. For now. Then, something happened that changed everything. Savannah reappeared. She showed up at the scene where Danielle's car was found, shaken, nervous, but ready to talk. And what she revealed shocked everyone listening. Savannah explained that Danielle had been struggling badly. She was a single mom, raising 3 kids. Bills were piling up, the kids needed shoes, equipment for baseball, food, clothes. Danielle had scraped together $400, but she needed $600. She was short, desperate. So she made a choice. Danielle had started selling drugs, not because she was reckless, not because she wanted to, because she was trying to survive, trying to provide for her children in the only way she thought she could. This revelation hit hard. Danielle wasn't just a missing mom anymore. She was a woman caught between desperation and danger. And now that world, the one she'd been trying to navigate quietly, had swallowed her whole. Savannah also shared another critical detail. She said that earlier in the day, before Danielle's car was discovered, she had driven past that same auto body shop, and the car wasn't there, which meant one thing. Someone moved it after Savannah passed by. Someone who knew where to hide it, someone who wanted it found, but only at the right time. Detectives were now staring at 2 possibilities. Either Chris was involved in lying everything, or someone else entirely had gotten to Danielle first. But just as the case seemed to be closing in on Chris, a new name surfaced, a name that had been quietly lurking in the background this whole time. And when investigators started digging into this person's movements on the day Danielle disappeared, everything they thought they knew was about to be turned upside down. While detectives were laser focused on Chris, a woman walked into the police station with information that would crack this case wide open. She was nervous, hesitant, but she had something to say. And what she told them changed everything. This woman explained that on the evening Danielle disappeared, Thursday, March 17th, a man had shown up at her apartment around 7 p.m. She didn't know him well, just an acquaintance, but his behavior that night stuck with her. He was wearing a white tank top and blue jeans, and the first thing he asked for? A clean shirt. She thought it was odd, but didn't have one that would fit him. Even if she did, she said, they were all dirty anyway. So she told him no. They talked for a couple hours, then around 9 p.m. he left. But before walking out the door, he said something that made her skin crawl. He looked at her and said, "If anybody asks, tell them I've been here at your house since 2 p.m. Not 7 p.m. when he actually arrived. 2 p.m. Why would he need an alibi for hours he wasn't even there? Why would he assume someone would ask? Unless he had something to hide. The detective's ears perked up. This was exactly the kind of detail that breaks cases wide open. But it got even stranger. The next day, Friday, the same man came back. This time, he asked the woman if she'd go for a ride with him. She agreed, and during that drive, something happened that she couldn't shake. They were on the highway when suddenly the man looked in his rearview mirror and saw a police car in the distance. It wasn't even close to them, just there. But he panicked. "I gotta get off the highway. I gotta get off the highway," he said, voice tight with urgency. Then he reached between the seats and pulled out a bundle of clothes. He handed them to her and said, "Throw these out, now." She didn't ask questions, she just did it. She rolled down the window and tossed the clothes out onto the side of the highway. At the time, she thought it was weird, but she didn't think too much of it. Until she found out Danielle was missing. Until she found out Danielle's car had been found covered in blood. And then she realized she might have just thrown away evidence in a murder. So she came forward, and when detectives asked her who this man was, she gave them a name: Shawn Wakefield. Shawn wasn't someone who'd been on their radar before, but now he was about to become the center of the entire investigation. Detectives wasted no time. They asked the woman to take them back to the spot where she'd thrown out the clothes, and incredibly, they were still there, lying on the side of the highway. A pair of jeans, a hoodie, a single sock. But what stopped detectives cold was a dark stain covering the jeans. It looked a lot like blood. They bagged the clothes immediately and sent them to the lab for testing. While they waited for results, detectives started digging into Shawn's background. And what they found wasn't comforting. Shawn was a convicted felon with a history of burglary, theft, and gun charges. He was currently on probation, which meant he was wearing an ankle monitor. And that ankle monitor, it tracked his every move. Detectives pulled the GPS data, and when they mapped out where Shawn had been on March 17th, the day Danielle disappeared, their suspicions were confirmed. His movements lined up perfectly with key locations in the case, including the auto body shop where Danielle's car was found, the same shop that had no cameras. But here's the kicker. Right next to that shop was a construction site, and that construction site, it had cameras. Detectives rushed to pull the footage, and what they saw on that grainy surveillance video left no doubt. Danielle's car pulled into the lot. Shawn's truck followed right behind. Then there was movement, a struggle, Danielle's body jerking. Then Shawn's truck slowly pulled away. Minutes later, Shawn walked back into frame, alone. And shortly after that, Danielle's car left the lot. But Danielle wasn't driving. Shawn was. Traffic cameras miles away confirmed it. The timestamp matched the GPS data from his ankle monitor perfectly. They had him. But there was still one thing missing: Danielle herself. The next day, March 18th, 2016, search teams combed through remote fields and wooded areas near where her car had been found. And then they found her, hidden under a brown blanket in a quiet patch of woods. Her body showed signs of brutal violence. Her face was beaten and swollen, her jaw was broken, both eyes were blackened and bruised shut. Her hair was soaked in blood, tangled with leaves and sticks from being dragged to the scene. Cuts, scrapes, and drag marks covered her body. Danielle Pruett was murdered, and now detectives had a suspect, evidence, and the body. It was time to bring Shawn Wakefield in. Shawn Wakefield was already sitting in county jail on a probation violation when detectives came calling. They had the GPS data, they had the surveillance footage, they had the bloody clothes, and now they had Danielle's body. But they wanted one more thing: a confession. Shawn agreed to talk, but only with his attorney present. Smart move on his part, because from the moment he sat down, it was clear he knew exactly what kind of trouble he was in. The detectives started simple. "Shawn, I want you to walk me through your day yesterday. What time did you wake up? What did you do?" Shawn's answers came quick, almost too quick. "Woke up around 10, started my truck, went to Tim's Auto Repair on Route 460 to get a quote on some brakes, got there around 11. He was specific, detailed, like he'd practiced. But then the detective asked about the afternoon, the hours when Danielle disappeared, and suddenly Shawn's memory got fuzzy. "After that, I went to Tazewell Square, met up with a friend, a female friend. We were just kicking it in the parking lot. What's her name?" I don't really want to say." Red flag. "What time did you leave?" "Probably around close to 3. And then went straight home, didn't stop anywhere." The detective leaned back, watched him, studied his body language. Shawn was fidgeting, his eyes were darting. His story had gaps, big ones, and the detective knew it. "Shawn, you ever heard the saying, honesty is the best policy?" Shawn nodded. So when are you going to start being honest? Because right now, you're leaving stuff out, big gaps, and I need to know why. Shawn shifted in his seat. His lawyer leaned over and whispered something, but Shawn didn't answer. The detective pressed harder. Did you know Danielle Pruett? Pause. Yeah, I knew her. Had you bought drugs from her before? Another pause. Yeah, a few times. What about on March 17th? Did you call her that day? Yeah, I called her around 3:15, told her a buddy of mine was trying to get some. Now they were getting somewhere. And did you meet up with her? I called her, asked if she wanted me to come to her house. She said no. She told me to meet her on the next street over, by the graveyard. The detective's pulse quickened. That matched exactly what Savannah had overheard Danielle say on the phone before she left. So did you meet her? Shawn hesitated. No, I never saw her. Lie. The detective knew it, Shawn knew it, but proving it in that moment was a different story. Shawn, you know where Danielle is right now? No. Did you have anything to do with her disappearance? No. Did you put your hands on Danielle with the intent to cause bodily harm? No. The detective let the silence hang in the air for a moment. Then he leaned forward. Here's the thing, Shawn. We've got your GPS data from your ankle monitor, and it puts you at the exact location where Danielle's car was found, at the exact time she went missing. Shawn's face didn't move, but his eyes flickered. We've got surveillance footage from the construction site next door, and it shows your truck following her car, and then it shows you walking around, alone. Still no response. We found your clothes on the side of the highway, the ones you told that woman to throw out, and they've got bloodstains all over them. Shawn's lawyer put a hand on his arm. The interview was over, but it didn't matter because a few days later, the DNA results came back from the lab. The blood on Shawn's jeans? It was Danielle's, and mixed in with it, Shawn's own DNA. That was it. No more questions, no more gaps in the story. Shawn Wakefield was charged with first-degree murder, and now it was just a matter of time before the case went to trial. Except, it never did. Because after nearly 2 years of watching the evidence pile up against him, the GPS data, the surveillance footage, the bloody clothes, the DNA, the witness testimony, Shawn Wakefield finally gave up. He accepted a plea deal. Guilty. No trial, no drawn-out court battle, no chance to spin his story in front of a jury. Just guilty. The judge sentenced him to 57 years in prison. For Danielle's family, it wasn't closure. It wasn't enough. But it was something. It was acknowledgement that their daughter, their sister, their mother had been taken from them, and the man who did it would never walk free again. Danielle Pruett was 29 years old when she died. She left behind 3 children who would grow up without their mother, a twin sister who lost the person closest to her in the world, a family shattered by violence and greed. Because in the end, that's what this was about. Shawn Wakefield didn't kill Danielle because he hated her. He killed her because he wanted to rob her. She was selling an 8-ball of cocaine. Shawn wanted it, but he didn't want to pay for it. So when she resisted, when she fought back, he made sure she'd never tell anyone what he'd done. And he almost got away with it. But Danielle didn't go down without a fight. The injuries on her body told the story of a woman who refused to be a victim, who fought for her life until the very end. And even though Shawn Wakefield tried to erase her, throwing away her phone, hiding her body, moving her car, he couldn't. Because the truth always finds a way out.
Shawn Wakefield was sentenced to 57 years in prison. For Danielle's family, it wasn't the outcome they wanted. Nothing could bring her back. Nothing could undo the violence. Nothing could give those 3 kids their mother again. But at least he would never walk free. At least there was accountability. At least they had answers. Or so they thought. Because in November 2019, just days before Shawn was scheduled to be formally sentenced, something happened that no one saw coming. Shawn Wakefield died in custody. The cause? A sudden illness. That's all that was ever publicly revealed. No details, no explanation, just gone. The man who murdered Danielle Pruett, who beat her, dragged her body into the woods, and tried to erase her existence, never served a single day of that 57-year sentence. And just like that, the case that had consumed investigators, devastated a family, and shaken a community, ended quietly. For some people, Shawn's death felt like justice slipping through their fingers one last time. For others, it was a relief. No trial, no appeals, no chance of him ever getting out. But for Danielle's family, it was complicated because even though Shawn was gone, the pain wasn't, the questions weren't, the grief wasn't. Danielle's kids still grew up without their mom.
Her twin sister Nikki still woke up every day knowing the person she was closest to in the world was gone. Her mother Charlene still carried the weight of that 911 call, the moment she realized her daughter was never coming home. And no amount of prison time, no guilty plea, no courtroom drama could ever change that. This case is a reminder that true crime isn't just about solving the mystery. It's about the lives left behind, the families who never get closure, the unanswered what-ifs that linger long after the case is closed. What if Danielle hadn't been desperate for money that day? What if Shawn had just paid for what he wanted instead of killing her for it? What if someone had noticed the warning signs earlier? These are the questions that haunt cases like this, and they're the questions that never really go away. But here's what we do know. Danielle Pruett was more than just a victim in a true crime story. She was a mother who loved her kids fiercely. She was a sister, a daughter, a friend. She was a woman trying to survive in a world that didn't make it easy, and she deserved better than what happened to her. Her story didn't end the way it should have, but it's important that we remember it anyway, because behind every case file, every police report, every courtroom testimony, there's a real person, a real life, a real family still grieving. And that's why stories like Danielle's matter. Not for shock value, not for entertainment, but for remembrance, for awareness, for justice. Even when justice comes too late. If you made it this far, thank you. Thank you for listening to Danielle's story. Thank you for caring about a case that could have easily been forgotten. Because that's what this channel is about, giving voices to the victims, uncovering the truth, and making sure stories like Danielle Pruett's are never erased. If you want more cases like this, real stories told with care and respect, make sure you subscribe to Chilling True Crime. Hit that like button, turn on notifications, and share this video with someone who needs to hear Danielle's story. Because the more people who know her name, the harder it is for her to be forgotten. Rest in peace, Danielle. Your story mattered. And it still does.